This is the goofy, pre-crisis Superman that I've really come to appreciate in recent months. Thanks for joining me. My name is Daryl, and I am the host of Read Your Comics. Today, I'm looking at another DC Comics Presents. This is a title that I've really come to enjoy as I was exploring Superman in the build-up to the movie a couple months ago. I like the team-up aspect of this. It's always a fun way to get a little bit of Superman, mix it with another character that maybe you're not quite familiar with. In this case, I think we're all pretty familiar with the team-up here, right? We've got Superman and Clark Kent teaming up to stop guy in a purple suit. I don't know who this is, but I think it's a great, almost Silver Agey cover, although this did come out in the early 80s, but it still had that same kind of vibe to it. But before we jump into it, I just want to give a reminder that I have a Superman playlist right here. I did a ton of Superman videos as it built up to the James Gunn Superman movie, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So much so that I thought I'd be kind of done with Superman for a little while doing these videos on it, but this one was too fun to not go ahead and make a quick video of. So let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with some basic aliens here, and the gist here is that these aliens like to gamble. They wager with each other all the time, and they've encountered Superman before. At least that's what I'm getting out of their dialogue here. But if I've never seen them before, I'm not familiar with them. This helmet looks like the guy on the cover, but man, these faces look a lot more alien than the guy on the cover. Anyway, they're planning to basically mess with Superman in some sort of wager to see how long it will take Superman to figure out their little game that they're playing. Look at the superpowers ad. That's one of the most awesome Superman toys. This whole line of figures was fun. And I didn't have a ton of them as a kid, but I do think this was a fun line of toys. So who's working on this book? We've got Paul Kupperberg is writing it. Classic Superman artist Curt Swan. He's the perfect artist to mix it up with a Superman meets Clark Kent story. So after we see the aliens, Clark is taking on this like kind of chronal time guy, and he's able to somehow counter Superman's powers. So for everybody always complaining about James Gunn's Superman kept getting beat and stuff, look at this Superman. He's getting his butt whooped right here by this no-name villain who looks like he's got like corn cobs on his legs. What's that all about? And I mean, he's given Superman the what for, so he pretty much beats Superman down. And he even says, like, we've been going at this for over an hour or for a half hour, and he's still hanging with Superman. And, you know, it's frustrating to the Man of Steel here. And they fall down into some building, and, you know, you just got a basic fight right here. I love this panel, though. This feels like the Curt Swan that we saw in the era of the Sandman Superman, with the Neil Adams covers and stuff. That is how this is feeling right here. So we're getting towards the later end of Curt Swan's career, at least on Superman. And maybe he was put out to pasture too soon, but a lot of this kind of feels a little generic, but this panel feels like old Curt Swan. Who did the inking on this one? I forgot to mention that. Oh, Al Williamson is the guest inker. This is a layout that Curt Swan was pretty good at too. These kind of like crooked panels, adds a little bit of chaos and tension to the layout. There's Superman getting blasted in the eyes. Look, he even says, my eyes burning. This is pre-crisis Superman, before he was like depowered by the reboot and everything. And here he is getting his butt whooped. It happened, y'all. Kryptonite wasn't the only thing to slow Superman down. These villains could put up a fight and kind of, you know, keep him on his heels. Now, would Superman always win in the end? Of course. But there were villains that were able to give Superman a challenge. Even the pre-crisis amped up Superman. So he gets knocked down into this David Marr moving van, and he crashes down into it, and all of a sudden you just see him start changing to Clark Kent. One of the rare times that I've actually seen this. I'd always heard about this, but never actually witnessed it in a comic. He kept his Clark Kent clothes in a pocket inside his cape. So what happened if his cape got all destroyed or something? I mean, that happened fairly often. So he pulls out his Clark Kent stuff and starts to change. Before I turn the page, I also want to point out this ad for Crisis that's coming up. And notice how it's called Universe, Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm not aware of that being like a name change throughout the process of Crisis coming up. So I thought this ad was kind of interesting. I wonder how long did this ad and this name for the Crisis series last before they ended up just calling it Crisis on Infinite Earths. So here he is just changing and he's saying like what am I doing? Why am I changing into Clark Kent? I can't stop myself. And he sees the chrono guy coming and he just kind of makes his exit. So the bad guy thinks he's won. He thinks he's like completely destroyed Superman. I made Superman run away with his tail between his legs. This guy's feeling a little long in the tooth. And look at this changing scene. You see him, Superman, he's trying to change back into Superman, but he can't. He's like compelled to be Clark Kent. And he comes into his office at WGBS. This is the time period when Superman is a TV reporter, which actually started in those Denny O'Neil Sandman stories. So he's a co-anchor with Lana, of all people. So he's going to go interview this Prince Hadari, who's representing some other nation. And this is supposed to be a big interview. And I guess Lana's like the main anchor because he keeps acting like he's got to do this for Lana, like Lana's going to be mad at him. But then all of a sudden, he's compelled again to change back to Superman and take off. And he can't stop himself. He's just leaving. And Lana's like, what is going on? And of course, this prince from this Arab country takes it as an insult as he's leaving. But here comes Clark right back in. And Clark is completely baffled and confused by what is going on. So we see Clark leave, take off as Superman, and immediately come back down the hall and act like he has no idea what's going on. And the confusion just continues. Superman goes to take care of that villain he was fighting at the beginning, and it turns out he's already defeated him. But Superman can't remember doing that. So this TV broadcaster here, who has it on film, Superman looking through the camera lens to see the recording of himself beating the guy. He's able to use some like ashes or something to like dampen the guy's powers or something. Like, I mean, pretty goofy reason to beat a dude, but Superman like, that's odd. I don't remember doing that at all, but I'm glad that's taken care of. And he takes off. So he starts to return back to WGBS, and there he is once again pulling out his Clark Kent clothes. He shows up as Clark Kent to explain to Lana, and she's like, what are you talking about? You already explained why you got up to go to the bathroom suddenly or whatever his excuse was. When all of a sudden, he sees Superman coming in. Great Scott, Superman, great Krypton, Clark. What a panel right here. And the two of them are checking each other out. Now, this Clark that we see on the cover, he's full of Superman powers. He's 100% Superman, but he's compelled to stay as Clark. Whereas this Superman also has all his powers, and he's compelled to stay as Superman and can't change back to Clark unless they swap out. But they check each other out here and can tell that they are who they say they are. So the two of them have a pretty comical conversation right here and decide to go try to find the source of this confusion. Look at this Clark Kent face on this panel, too. That's a perfect Curt Swan face. And then this panel over here of Superman starting to lift off and fly. Now, Clark can fly, but because he's dressed as Clark, he suggests that the other Superman carry him so that if anybody sees them, they don't wonder why Clark Kent is able to fly as well. But then they're high enough in the air, so I guess he's able to just float there and look around with his telescopic vision himself. And now they're both able to spot the alien craft up in the sky, or, well, this like black box portal or whatever. This is a great panel as well with the shadows and the night sky and the layouts. See, these feel kind of generic though. That's where I'm saying like sometimes stuff looks a little generic. You got Al Williamson inking on it. Now this is some good panel layouts here. I like the negative space right there with the negative shadows. You got some very 80s looking kind of piloted robot things. I'm sure they're inspired by TIE fighters or something. And they come and they take on Superman and Clark Kent, who both just fly through. It's funny seeing Superman in his Clark Kent clothes doing these actions and taking out these robots and stuff. Great power punch right there of two-fisted swinging, taking out several at a time. And the two are able to find the aliens and essentially force them to fix this mess. And they're kind of laughing with each other because one of them lost the bet. And Clark's like, you can't or Clark. And Superman says, you can't destroy my life just for a bet. And they essentially play good cop, bad cop here. The one is Clark, attacks the others and threatens them, whereas Superman's just going to kind of stand by. I mean, you got Clark looking pretty upset right here. Look at that face, too. Really irritated looking Clark Kent. And the guy, he's being choked. He points to show him how to go to the machine to re-merge the two together and become one. Here's another great panel layout, the triangle panel and these kind of trapezoid or parallelogram type panels. Good layouts by Curt Swan. I've noticed as I explore more Curt Swan stuff, he did like to play with these crooked panels quite a bit. And all's well that ends well. They merge the two. You see Superman with Clark's pants, and they fly off to return back to Earth. That's kind of the end of our goofy little team-up story here. It's just a fun one. Got a Frank Miller Superman right there. Anyway, it's just a fun little team-up book. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.
Read your comics!